Hey everyone, this is Dr. Turab Rai from the Turabify Network Podcast. I got another amazing guest, Mr. Patrick Precourt over from Connecticut. He is an absolute gem to have on the podcast because we talk about development all the time and how better to learn than from the perspective of someone that's achieved what Patrick has in his life. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on. It's an honor. I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people from different walks of life, and real estate and the coaching space, it's one of those things that you hear a lot about. You hear a lot about real estate, and you hear a lot about personal development in entrepreneurship and leadership in general. And hopefully you can give us some lessons of how you got here and kind of some of the things that we should watch out for as we grow.
Yeah, honored to be here, and so thank you very much for inviting me on the show. And yeah, love to share, particularly just in the space of, you bring up real estate investment. I'll give you a couple different arenas that we've played in that have been traditionally low performance in terms of goals and how many people achieve their goals. One of them being the fitness industry, right? Owned a gym for 13 years called The Cage that we started in Rocky Hill and moved into our little town of Cromwell. And I'm not a fitness trainer, and I'm not a nutritionalist or anything like that. I mean, I lead a healthy lifestyle, right? But that's not my expertise. But my expertise plays a bigger role in getting people what they want out of a gym, altering behavior in a consistent way to produce a result that you desire. And that's probably the simplest way that I can describe it. Like the knowledge, the expertise that we're so bought into the fact that we need all this new information to achieve any kind of results. When I have found over time, I'm a perfect case of trial and error, we need a little bit of information massively applied consistently to produce crazy results, versus what we usually do is get a whole bunch of information, little application, and then little or no results. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, and I can tell that you've had this conversation with many of folk. Like, hey, you can have this whole library, but if you don't put it into action, what's the point? Mm-hmm. How do you know when you know enough?
How do you know when you know enough? Well, you'll never, like, let's just say we're starting something new, whatever it is, some new business, try just something new and different in their lives. They will always feel that they need more information in order to begin. This is something that I'll share with you, and it'll open a door for the stuff we need the most, that we feel we need more information, more knowledge, more expertise. But what we need most can only be acquired through the act of doing. We've got to start the feedback loop. And that's why I tell people all the time, start with a little bit of information, take those first few, and you'll immediately start getting feedback, results coming back. And that's going to guide you into the next step, what you should be doing or not in some cases.
You got to fail to figure it out. Can you walk us through your story a little bit here? Like, where were you born? Kind of,
yeah.
When you kind of stirred this whole personal development stuff?
First off, it's not that exciting, okay? But I'll bring you through it. Yeah, I was born and raised in Connecticut, and we moved around a little. Went to college for a little while.
What's a little bit of moving around? What does that mean?
I live 25 minutes from where I grew up. Okay?
Incredible. Okay.
So stayed pretty tight. Went to University of Connecticut, didn't graduate, went there for 4 years, but I did play rugby for 4 years. So I did what I had to do to get through, so I didn't get kicked out of rugby, and that's kind of why I stayed there. But I had a business while I was in school. We had a framing company. We framed houses. This in the late 80s, and there's a lot of building boom here. And you're in the town you lived in Farmington, Devonwood, nice big development. We did a lot of house framing back then, right? Wow. And that's kind of where the entrepreneurial journey started.
Did you own this business?
The framing, yeah, we're subcontractors for the general contractors that built contracted the homes. Yep.
And who is we? Did you have a friend? Was it family, brother?
Basically, any mates that could come work with me, that were okay with working really hard all day long and then making it back to rugby practice.
Yeah. So did the framing thing? Did you have any idea of how to frame, like in high school or anything? Like how did you acquire that knowledge?
Had already worked a bit in that contracting, under other people, learned it, was proficient at it, and then figured out, hey, we got enough to do this on our own, and just went for it.
And did anyone like counsel you, like, hey, Pat, like you should think about doing a business, you should think about going getting these contracts? Were you just like, I just You just had an intuition to kind of go and find this stuff?
I'll be honest with you, I just didn't ask any questions. And I'm just being honest with you, my focus was not the framing company. The focus was playing rugby at the time. And the framing company facilitated that and allowed that to happen. The money we generated, but in a classic, immature way, we'd get paid out on Fridays, and by Sunday nights we'd be broke.
Classic.
And we'd eat whatever we could eat throughout the week, and we'd be rich again come Friday.
What is I keep remembering Grant Cardone, weekends make you weak. All the money you made during the week you spent on the weekend.
Yeah,
classic.
Yeah. That's kind of how it all started.
Okay, so you had this gym business. You had it for 13 years, right? Are you still? Is that still something that you're invested in, or have some sort of? Is the physical wellness stuff a part of revenue generation, or at least a part of your?
So the way it's when I work with clients now, I don't allow them to separate physical well-being from their mental and emotional well-being, from their financial well-being.
Absolutely.
Because they're all so tightly wound together, right?
Beautiful.
And man, we can go to the moon in any one of those departments, but if you leave one or the other behind, it's going to pull you back off the moon pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's an inevitable outcome. That's not a maybe. You'll end up with.
Is that a philosophy you've had all the way throughout? Or is that something you finally hit and you're like, I'm missing these parts?
Yeah, it more developed it over time. So we got into the education space and the real estate investment world for a long time, and part of what drove me more and more into the behavioral science side of the equation is the fact that no matter how good the information we provided was to our clients, and no matter how much support we gave them, there's still only a certain percentage of them that were very successful with it, and the rest were not. You think they have an equal playing field. Well, they had an equal, yet they didn't all get the same result. Okay.
Right.
So then the question's got to be asked, why not? And the last variable, and then you ask other questions. You say, well, let's figure this out. If they want the result, they know what they have to do. They know that what they have to do is good for them, and they have the knowledge and resources. Why aren't they doing the work?
Right.
And this applies not to just pretty much
life. There's human beings.
Is the gap for everybody between where we are and where we want to go. So that's where I've kind of burrowed in really hard these past, call it 12 years or so.
Wow.
Closing that gap and understanding what people to do the activity consistently over time to produce the results that they so deeply desire.
It's beautiful. It's inspiring because I'm right at the beginning of this stuff. I got out of school maybe 2 years ago at this point, out of dental school. So
got it.
So I'm starting to, that philosophy where we craft it and we test it and we go and waste a lot of shit and kind of, have terrible failures. And it's always nice to reflect with someone that's been through the process. So thank you again for taking your time. So what is the goal with the real estate? What are you trying to put together here? What's the personal goal, and then what's the larger vision of it?
So when I started real estate, like whenever you start anything, just like you are now, your belief is that being a dentist is your main stage. It's your main show. And that's what I thought with real estate. To find out that it wasn't. Not because of anything bad, but because you're drawn into something that is calling you at a higher level. If that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Yep.
And I'll always be in real estate. We got out of the real estate education about when we started the gym, more coincidentally, not really for any real reason. It's just the way it is. And the gym wasn't 100% of my focus. I worked operationally in it. I didn't have to teach somebody how to bench press. I just made sure after the first 2 years it was up and running, my input was more just operational from the outside, from visionary CEO viewpoint. I didn't have that title because or small gym, but you get what I'm saying.
Did you contribute capital to the gym through?
I founded the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So you're the one who built it, in terms of
100%. Yeah.
With the proceeds you got from the other business exploits that you had in the.
Correct. As they put them all together. Yep.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Okay. So I know that you went to coaching. I know that you're in coaching because this kind of, I can tell that there's a deeper spiritual necessity behind. How many units do you own
in property right now?
Yeah.
Everything we own is co-owned and in fund.
Interesting.
So the proverbial own nothing and control, and that's another discussion for how you stay protect.
Interesting. Yeah, I have a CPA right now, and I'm like trying to figure out. For those of you that are watching, right, when you go into entrepreneurship, you don't realize how much shit you don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. So very cool.
And just on that one note, for if somebody's listening and they're starting off a career in entrepreneurialism, even if it's running in parallel to, say, a W-2 job, which is fine, and it's probably a smart way of doing it, right? One thing I didn't do that I could have done better is got clear on what I was trying to achieve. Start with the outcome that you're trying to get to, and then back into how you're going to get there, and you'll have a much clearer path, and the journey will be less distracted by other, proverbial opportunities as they come up. And the practice is, once you're clear on where you want to go, and you know where you are, all you have to do is draw a straight line between the 2 points. And as things come into your life, what people, say, hey, I got an opportunity for you to look at them. It's really easy to see if that's directly on your line and moving you towards where you want to go. And it either is or it isn't. But you've already made the rules of engagement for that. So again, it doesn't become a distraction if it's not, what you need to move you forward. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. My question to you is, do you recommit to that? Like, is there a certain period of time where you'll go back specifically in a structured way to that goal and recommit to it?
Yeah, great question. And this starts bringing into bigger questions like purpose and meaning. And right now, your purpose is to be a dentist, and you may have different aspirations on a single practice or multiple practices, or a consultant there's a billion different ways that you can run it, right? And you may find along that journey, like I did, that, and I found out that my time in real estate was not even about real estate. It got me into real estate coaching, and that wasn't even about real estate coaching, but it was to make me aware of the gap between information, education, and people getting results. And then the gym just doubled down on that. Same thing, and there's no greater industry, I think, that has a higher failure rate than the fitness world, right? At large. And we got so good at producing results, we got to charge extraordinary amounts of monthly fees, and in some cases provide guarantees on results, right? And it's not because we're the best trainers or the best because we approached it from a functional space of human behavior, the science of behavior.
Brilliant.
Get people to change behavior and convert those behaviors into habits, you'll get them the outcomes that they want, provided those are in alignment with the end goal to be.
Yeah.
And that's where and then that became a human laboratory for effectively training out and testing out different constructs of altering human behavior. And I tell people this all the time, and it doesn't always sit right away, but human behavior is brutally beyond what you can imagine. It's levers, it's buttons, it's knobs, and once you figure out the individual and put things in right order, the outcomes become brutally predictable.
Do you ever worry that you'll get to a point where, or have you already gotten to a point where it is so predictable that it becomes boring?
No, because every human's different, and oftentimes you're not even dealing with, as you move up or move along the journey, right? I run different groups, and and put them in extraordinary situations because they want to condense time. Now it went from, all right, let's get a predictable outcome, to how do we condense time in getting these outcomes that we desire. So it's always changing, it's always evolving, and it keeps from the perspective of, do you get bored? Well, I'm of the belief that you may feel your purpose now. My purpose is to become a dentist and do all these things in the street world. I'm come from the position that we will never know our purpose until right at the end of the journey, and we look back on where we've been. And it's not going to be a straight line. Very few people travel a straight line, and it's back like this and back like that. And the more we're open to, the more opportunities we have it's still a growing process forward. But we're constantly stepping on bigger stages doing it. So two of my partners in a program that I run, we run a men's group for guys who just want to expand who they are. And we do this in the mountains of Colorado. And we do some really challenging things. It's not a physical challenge. It's a mental, emotional. My two partners are both former Navy SEALs, and we use their psychology warfare to condense time and get guys to elevate who they're capable of becoming.
Wow.
One of my partners, when he got out of reverse, he had 3 young daughters. He was already in the military for 25 years of his life, and he still wasn't retired. And it was in part because he didn't know who he was going to become once he got out of being a Navy SEAL. He was technically no longer a Navy SEAL. The whole image, his self-facade of that was who he was when he looked in the mirror. And when you retire, you're now someone else, and you got to figure that out. And in the process, he kind of put together the pieces and realized that, you know what, that whole thing, he was 4 years in the Marines and went to college, then did this long stint in 26 years as a Navy SEAL. That was all training. That was not the main stage. Training for who he was to become. And he now runs a camp for teenage kids called Camp. And he could never, ever, ever have been the person he needed to be to do that. All of his life experiences stacked up. And he'll make more impact on this world doing that than he could have ever done in his 30 years leading up.
Right.
That makes sense?
Absolutely.
And the only message I would say, would suggest people take out of that is just appreciate whatever journey you're on right now. Don't think it's the end. And that's not a bad thing. There's so much more. And I look at everything we do every day as just training. Even the worst things that happen to us, no matter how bad it is, I'll always stop and I'll kind of regroup and I'll remind myself that was necessary training for me in order to become who I need to become. And then I'll go one step further and say, you know what, there's a higher intelligence here. For me, it's God. For somebody else, it might be universe or source energy. There's a higher intelligence here that's looking out. And if we're not moving quick enough, they'll push us along. They will challenge us at the level that we're able to compete at, put those life events in front of us to force us to step up, give us the opportunity to step up. And that's how I look at all of those types of things.
Absolutely. So, more and more as I'm getting into this personal development stuff, it seems like the business philosophies and the spiritual philosophies, they need to align to some degree in order to sustain. And it's wild to think how many folks that aren't in that sphere, that aren't in the that aren't interested in growing in that capacity in life, how they just don't understand that. Like they're looking at it very binarily, right? They're like, oh, this person is just successful, and they have this philosophy, and it's just about money and this and that. And then you dig a little deeper, and you're like, you're missing something. You can't just get there without tackling the rest of it. So it's and it's reiterated all the time to me by successful people like yourself. It makes a tremendous difference.
So I was brought up Catholic, and I'm still practicing Catholic, but I don't push that on anybody. I don't, drive that through anybody, but I approach it a little more mechanically for them to allow them to figure out how they have to align. And I do it in this way. Every human has a professional life, private life, and then a secret life. The professional life is the public life. That's what everybody sees, right? That's what is out there. The private life is the life that just you and your really close sphere sees. The secret life, thoughts, your emotions, your desires, part of you. And we think that we can do things in that life that maybe we'd be really embarrassed about if the world saw. We think we can pull that off and it not affect anything because it's secret. The truth is, when those 3 are out of alignment, it will create friction in our in the life that everybody sees. We'll find ourselves swimming up. We think we can get away with being a different person when no one else is looking, but the truth is we can't. Those have to come into alignment. And in order for that to happen, you have to have a deeper connection to something that's bigger, greater than just you and I, Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So I create that space for them to figure out how to get in.
How do you get outside of your head in order to balance everything out? What forces need to change? What actions need to change? I assume is the real thing.
Well, even thoughts. If you're a married man and you have thoughts that are unbecoming of being a married man, there's a cost to that. You may not think so because they're secret in your head, a hard cost, and it will manifest itself in your life without exception.
Wise words. Thank you. In terms of, and I'm not sure how much time you have. I could ask you this forever, but I want to specifically go into one of the things that leaders are always going to struggle with is talent acquisition, right? You seem to have found some incredible human beings. Did you have a strategy or do you currently have a strategy for finding incredible people?
Yeah, and so I'll tell you how I do it, but I'm not saying it's the best, okay? It's always worked well for me. I've always started from a position of did they play team sports?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, just because that builds in a certain that teamness that I don't have to train them into. Like that's a big one, you know. And
that's
after
like a core value.
Yeah. That if you put the team first, team mission first, team needs second, individual needs third. And that's always been part of our code. It always happens that way, right? Whatever the team's mission is, that's number one. The needs of the team come second. The individual needs come in third. And if everybody can understand that, that's how a team wins. And when the team wins, the individuals win. It's a successful model, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I've hired the wrong people, no doubt, right? And brought the wrong people in as partners. But what I've found out further on is that you'll attract people like you. And if it's true, not the fake facade you, the real you. And there's a difference. A lot of people wake up each morning and they have a vision of what they think others they should show up as. And they'll put on that costume for the day and show up in that way, mentally, emotionally, physically, the whole 9 yards, but because it's a facade, it does not have any attracting properties, if that makes any sense. The real you is still there, but now it's got a shield wrapped. So important that we constantly remind ourselves that our power is rooted in our authenticity. And the second we start pretending to be someone we're not, for whatever reason, we give up all of that power, all of that control, all of that authority, and we become almost docile, almost invisible to people. There's no attraction going on. So the rule there, as it relates to attracting people into your lives, I don't care if it's an employee or a future spouse you're looking for, gotta retrain yourself on being the real you. And if we've been, and this is guys, I think, struggle with this a little more than women do, because there's certain expectations of us, or we create expectations of ourselves, and our egos plays a big role in this, right? But we'll lose a sense of who we are if we work the facade long enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then, so then this goes back to my the conversation we were having earlier about the real estate or the dentistry isn't necessarily the purpose, right? It's the discovery phase.
No, good. I'm glad you brought that up, because I wasn't clear on a point there. You need a purpose, okay? Don't need to know your final purpose, but whatever purpose it is, you need to be all in. Not half in, like, oh, wonder when the next purpose is going to show up. No, you go, this is what I'm committed to, and I'm all in.
So then is that putting on the facade? Is that necessarily faking it till you make it, right? It's like okay, right?
No, good. I'm glad. I love these questions. So is it going all in on you're going to be a dentist? You're going all in on being a dentist. What you went to school for, you're trained for, that's where your expertise is. Whatever your next stage is, you're not even trained for it yet. You haven't become that person yet, and you won't until you go through the trials and tributaries of this next part of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Look at it in the words of be, do, have. In order to have this next thing in life, we got to do things that we have not currently done yet, which is we got to become someone we're not. And that's always the process. And you can't even play on the next stage, even if you knew what it was, because we haven't lived our way up to or into it yet. Might be a better way to just. It'd be like a guy coming to our old gym saying, hey, I want to fight in the UFC, but he's never fought yet. He can't go fight in the UFC. He's not qualified to fight in the UFC. He's got to go through years of training, play at that level to be able to be qualified to be there.
Patrick, how important is time?
How important is time?
Right. So you just said he needs to take years to get to a point where he's even qualified. How important is time? Yeah,
good question. So, it would be ignorant to say it's not important. It's super important, but it's not where our focus should be.
Okay.
People bring up the term time management all the time, and it's such an oxymoron in that of all the things we deal with in life, the one thing that we can't manage.
Interesting.
You can't slow it, speed it up. Can't borrow it, trade it, save it. There's nothing that under the title of management that time falls under, but we focus on time all the time. And what I suggest is just a switch. It's functional. It's not just semantics. Instead of focusing on time, focus on our decisions and actions within a frame of time. And that we're in control of. We can decide how we use. We can't do anything about the time. So we can stare at it, but it's going to keep clicking away. We have no decisions to be made as it relates. We have decisions that can be made about how we use that time, actions within that. See the difference?
Absolutely.
So when somebody says, man, I'm sorry, man, I meant to show up, meant to do what I told you I was going to do, but I ran out of time, really a lie. They didn't run out of anything. They still have time in their lives, just like you and I. And to almost suggest that, oh, I didn't have enough time would almost imply that they should somehow have more than you or I. Which that doesn't work either. True statement would be, sorry, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I chose to go do this instead. That's an accurate statement. And when we start talking in truth, we gain back our control. When we talk in fibs and lies, if you will, we give up that control.
What do you think one of the biggest lies you come across consistently?
Well, that's one of them. You know?
Okay.
So another one, well, it's probably not a lie. It's deceit. It's using distractions to avoid the things in life that we know we should be doing that move our needle.
Yeah.
Right? Less of a lie, but it's definitely a deceitful practice. And then what do we say? We say, oh, I got to. No. You went out and found another thing to be distracted by. You didn't have to do the hard work or the uncomfortable thing or have that tough conversation. And that's, that's, I suppose, is a form of lying, because it's certainly not being honest. Does that make sense?
What was that quote? And thank you for that. It always hits home when it's a real message, right? The price of buying a TV is not the dollars.
Yeah.
Right? It's the time you're going to spend watching the TV.
Yeah.
No, it's massive. You have clearly gotten to a place in your life where you're satisfied with potentially the service that you're providing, not only, your coaching clients, but also your friends and your family, I assume. Just based on talking to you, I can kind of feel that off of. Where are you going from here, Pat?
Satisfied is a interesting word. So am I grateful for how far things have come? Absolutely. Am I satisfied in terms of I've come far enough? Absolutely. So my son asked me a question one time, and this goes back to Be-Do Have, when fresh out of high school and wanted to go live in Breckenridge, Colorado. We live in Connecticut. I know we're driving him out there, and he's 18 years old. Now 14 hours into like a 32-hour drive, right? He's like, hey, Dad, when is enough? Like, when is it too much? I'm like, that's an insightful question. And so I thought about it for a bit, because I knew he was kind of hanging on this. So my first answer was intentional to get a response out of him so that he would listen to the explanation. The first answer is never is enough. And our default answer or thought on that is, man, that's kind of greedy, right? That's greedy. And he said something along those lines. I said, well, let me explain it to you this way, Patrick. And I shared the Be-Do Have. In order to have more in life, you got to do more in life. In order to do more in life, you got to become more in life. But all of that is a function of who you are. And you are a unique human being. There's no other one on earth like you, and there never will be. You have a set of ingredients special and unique to you. However, you're not given instructions or limitations on how to use those ingredients. So it's up to you to become more so you can do more in order to have more. But there's a fourth one, because you don't need much in terms of having to be thoroughly happy, fulfilled. You just don't need that much, right? So to stop when you reach that, that's very close to the top of the pile for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. To stop when you get to that point, from my perspective, would be irresponsible. And it would also be selfish. And here's why. We are given these ingredients to create with as much as we possibly can. And the having is a result of our creation. Creation being anything we do to better the universe. That's just a simple way to put it. And to the degree that we make this world better, we get rewarded. It's a super cool system. And there's exceptions, but let's just run with that for a second. But it doesn't stop with having. It goes from become more to do more to have more to give more. And the giving is impact. That's making a difference while we're here on earth. Now, when presented that way, if I said, hey, I got enough for Pat. Should I quit now? Should I stop now? I got plenty for me. You'd be like, Pat, that's That's selfish. You've got so much more to go. And that's how I see that our responsibility to ride this. And I don't know how else you would stay alive. That's the quickest way to live to a very old age, is just creating and producing. But I said, we don't need much, but we get super excited impacting the world. And it's one of our ways that, as humans, it fulfills us on a very, very high level. It's perfect. At first we're driven out of needs and wants, but now we're driven out of just legacy. And it's a perfect system. That answer that at all?
It does in an abstract sense, but it doesn't give me a specific trail that you are following as an individual.
So
I'm curious.
but we already talked about it. I don't know my next, and I'm open to it. Both of those, but that does not take me off my current role, right? I have one of my magic superpowers is I get people results in areas of their life that they are struggled to get them on their own. We have different programs built around that, and we're awesome at it. Stay at that until the next thing comes on my plate, and that's a true story. So I'm 100% focused and wide open for when this shows up.
What is the goal? How many people would you like to help catalyze?
I don't have a number to it, because I'll frame it this way. So when I was down in Tampa speaking at an event a couple days ago, and I was talking to another speaker, and they're dealing with a little of imposter syndrome, and am I good enough? They're gonna love me, and this and that. And I told them this. I said, I've used this from day one in my speaking career. Ask yourself a simple question: is there one person in this audience, just one person, that you could possibly connect with, that what you have to share, that you'll change the trajectory that they're on in life? Is there just? And he's thinking about it. I'm like, just be honest with yourself. He goes, well, be honest with you, there'll be more than one. I'm like, then get your ass up there and do your job, because it's not your choice. If all you do is change the life of one person, that's a home run. Follow me on that?
Yeah.
So that's why I don't try to put I gotta change 1 million people's lives to make 1 million millionaires. I'm not into the vanity side of that. I'm more into how deep can I go with any individual and alter the trajectory that they're on to get the things out of life that they're capable of getting. That's the part that excites me most.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Pat. If there's a young leader watching this and has made it to the end, is there anything you'd like to say to them specifically?
If there's a young leader, if you fancy the idea of leading, remember that leadership is servitude. Your success as a leader is a function of the success of those that you lead. And as you develop in your leadership, remember this, that until you get really good at leading your ability to influence and get others to change behavior under your leadership won't be that influential. It starts with, first we learn to lead ourselves, then we get to lead others, then we get to train others to be leaders, which is kind of as we step up and mature into our leadership roles. At the end of the day, man, if we can't get those we lead to be successful, we're not going to be leading them very long.
Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Precourt, thank you so much, sir, for your time. We should do some more stuff together. I'm very curious as to what you're working on in scale in terms of media as well. I'll be following everything. Where do the people find you, Pat?
Easiest way to find me is just on Facebook or Instagram, right? It's just my name, Patrick Precourt. And I'm very responsive, and I don't use AI bots to respond to people. Somebody takes the effort to reach out to me, I'll respond back to you 100%.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Honor to be here.